You're probably thinking this is Switzerland, or maybe New Zealand, maybe even a Japanese mountain village. But this is India. This is Sikkim. And it is better than it looks. Because what you're looking at is the first fully organic state in the country. Actually, in the world. No chemical fertilizers, no pesticides, no high-yielding variety seeds, just clean, honest and natural farming across every inch of cultivated land. But this wasn't a miracle. It was a slow, deliberate journey that started back in 2003. A political gamble, a farmer's leap of faith, and a story the whole world is paying attention to. I'm your host Lavanya, and in this episode of The Climate Brief, we travel to the mountains of Sikkim to understand how one of India's smallest states made one of the biggest agricultural shifts in the world and what the rest of us can learn from it. It all started with a vision. In 2003, Sikkim's then Chief Minister Pawan Kumar Chamling stood before his government with a wild idea. What if every farm in Sikkim went chemical-free? Not just a few model villages, not just pilot plots, the entire state. At the time, the idea felt utopian. Organic farming was considered a niche, expensive, risky, and yet Sikkim had a head start. You see, unlike Punjab or Haryana, Sikkim's mountainous terrain never lent itself to industrial farming. So while the rest of India was knee-deep in the Green Revolution using chemicals to boost yields, Sikkim? Not so much. Fertilizer use here was less than 10 kilos per hectare compared to India's average of 89 kilos. Its remote location meant poor access to chemical inputs, and agriculture here was mostly rain-fed and low yield. In fact, Sikkim's average farm productivity was already lower than the national average. But Chamling's genius, he saw this limitation as a strength. If the state was already using fewer chemicals, why not go all the way? But transforming an entire agricultural system isn't about waving a magic wand. It took 12 years of slow, steady groundwork. Here's how they pulled it off. Step 1. Wean off the chemicals. The first step wasn't a ban, it was a whisper. In 2003, the farmers in Sikkim were getting a 40% subsidy on urea. Since then, the government began reducing it by 10% each year until it hit zero by 2008. And simultaneously, they stopped importing them altogether. No hue and cry, no sudden measures, just economics. Then, in 2010, the Sikkim Organic Mission was launched, a full-scale strategy to train farmers, supply organic seeds, and create composting infrastructure. We'll learn about them later. By April 2017, under the SOM, the state had already built over 6,526 rural compost pits and 3,877 vermicompost units. Coming back to 2014, the big move happened. Legislation. A complete ban on chemical fertilizers and pesticides with actual jail time and a 1 lakh rupee fine. By 2016, enforcement began. But banning chemicals is easy. Changing mindsets? Not so much. Which leads us to step 2. Step 2. Support the farmers. The government knew this shift would be hard. Organic soil takes time to recover. Yields drop at first. So when they stepped in, many families were given cows so they could start dairy farming and generate income. Others were supported with government rations during the transition. And in one of the boldest moves, one government job was given to every family to soften the income shock. Under the Sikkim Organic Mission, farmers were taught how to use compost, neem oil, crop rotation, and pest-repellent crops. Earthworm nurseries were built. Training camps were held in every district. Step 3. Make it official. After years of groundwork, quiet nudges, farmer support, and infrastructure, the final piece was identity. In 2016, Sikkim was officially declared a 100% organic state. Every hectare of cultivated land, certified organic, no exceptions. But recognition didn't stop there. In 2018, the world took notice. Sikkim beat 51 nominations from 25 countries to win the UNFAO's Future Policy Gold Award, the global Oscar for best agricultural policies. Why? Because it didn't just promote organic farming. It built an entire ecosystem around it, one that actually worked. But let's be honest, getting the title is one thing, keeping it, that's a whole different story. So what's happened since Sikkim went organic? What did it gain? What did it lose? And the biggest question, can the rest of India follow? Going organic sounds like a dream, but ask Sri Lanka and they'll tell you what happens when a dream is rushed.
Require a new agricultural revolution that has sustainability at its core.
In 2021, Sri Lanka tried to do what Sikkim had done, go fully organic. But unlike Sikkim, it didn't take a decade. It took a decree.
The government of Sri Lanka banned the import of artificial fertilizers, pesticides and weedicides.
An overnight ban on synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. And the result? A humanitarian crisis. By late 2022, over 6.3 million people, nearly a third of the country, were facing moderate to severe food insecurity. That's 1 in 3 citizens struggling to feed themselves. Around 5.3 million people were skipping or reducing meals, and over 60% of families were eating less food or less nutritious food just to survive. Food inflation soared to 94%. The collapse in domestic production, paired with a foreign exchange crisis, meant Sri Lanka couldn't even import enough food to compensate. So when we talk about going organic, we need to be clear. It is not easy. Even Sikkim didn't escape the struggle. Let's break down why the shift is so difficult. Number 1, low productivity. Organic yields are usually lower than high-yielding variety or HYV technology. That's why we ask, can organic farming feed the world? Number 2, tougher pest control. Organic methods like neem oil, crop rotation, cow urine, wood ash and pheromone traps are used. But honestly, they are not as effective as chemical pesticides. Farmers often end up pulling out infected plants and hoping the damage stops there. Number 3, compost takes time. Making good organic fertilizer can take up to 6 months. And most small farmers don't have enough livestock to meet even half their own needs. So even if you want to go organic, sometimes there's just not enough input to make it work. Number 4, market competition. Organic produce is more expensive and that is a problem. In Sikkim, non-organic grains, vegetables and fruits from West Bengal flood the markets. They're cheaper. And guess what people pick? So if it's this hard, why even bother? Because the gains go beyond yield. Here is what organic farming does. 1, it's better for our health. No harmful pesticide residues, organic food has more vitamins, minerals and antioxidants. It's cleaner, safer, healthier. Number 2, it's better for the planet. No chemical runoff into rivers, no soil degradation, no synthetic fertilizer pollution. Organic farming keeps our water cleaner, our soil richer and our ecosystems more alive. Number 3, it supports biodiversity. Bees, butterflies and beneficial insects thrive in organic systems and they are critical to preserving our ecological value chains. Number 4, it's better for farmers. Prolonged chemical exposure has serious long-term health effects on the ones working in those fields. And organic farming reduces that risk. Number 5, it reduces carbon footprint. Making and transporting chemical fertilizers has a massive carbon cost. Organic systems cut that entirely, and India knows it. In November 2024, the government launched the National Mission on Natural Farming, 2,481 crore rupees to push organic practices in 15,000 gram panchayats covering 7.5 lakh hectares. The organic shift isn't a fantasy, it's already underway. So what can the rest of India and the world learn from Sikkim? 1, it has to be gradual. No overnight bans, no shock to the system, thoughtful measures that are announced and implemented over a period of time. 2, it must be supported. You can't expect struggling farmers to bear the cost of change alone. They need help, training, inputs, market access, and sometimes just time. 3, it must be tailored. What worked in Sikkim won't work the same way in Punjab or Tamil Nadu. Every region needs its own roadmap. If this story made you think differently about food, farming, or the future, share it with someone. And if you want more real stories like this, subscribe to the Climate Brief. We will keep bringing you stories that matter, stories that grow.